Monday, February 23rd, 2026, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today we're going to look at the concept of a financial reset, right? It's not Klaus Schwab's Great Reset. And I've been speaking about this even before 2020 when the Great Reset narrative came out with COVID. And yeah, I've usually looked into the Dow Gold ratio going back to the early 1930s, and I found a cycle. But I think we can go even further back, and it is actually a Jubilee cycle, around 49 or 50 years, 7 times 7. Yeah, really interesting. Why is it interesting? Well, because it shows us that we are very close to some momentous moves in the markets, and especially precious metals in relationship to the stock market and also bonds. Before I start, though, just wanted to let you know for my UK viewers that Gold Investments, they have a special on 1 ounce gold Britannias. They've provided me a link. I think it's Monaco 64 Brit. You get 1% off the offered price on the website, but it's only for Britannias that are pre-2026. Still a good deal, I would say. Yeah, if you want to find out more, there's some links below in the description. In the US, of course, I'm affiliated with Miles Franklin. I think you want to think about stacking more gold and silver after you listen to what I have to say here about this Jubilee or this reset. I think we're going into some turbulent next few years, and by a few years I mean 2 to 3 years, maybe a little more, up until like 2031, 32. And I've heard other people talk about this cycle. I've heard Bert Doman, who started out in the business in the 70s, got his clients into gold and silver, and then in 1980 told them that there'd be a bear market in gold and silver from 1980 to 2000. So like a 20-year bear market, and then he said after 2000 there would be a 32-year bull market. And I've heard that Martin Armstrong, he sees the end of the current system, the current monetary financial system, like a reset by 2032. So yeah, this is a very yeah, it seems to be all fitting in, as I said. First of all, though, let's look at what a Jubilee means. And I Googled it. Jubilee, 7 years. It says that Jubilee is a biblical 50th year super Sabbath occurring after 7 cycles of 7 years, or 7 times 7, 49, defined in Leviticus 25. This year of restoration and freedom involves freeing slaves, forgiving debts, returning land to original owners, and allowing the land to rest. It acts as a 50th year reset. There you go, that word reset. The reason I looked at that is because I hadn't really thought of the Dow Gold ratio cycle that I've told you about as a Jubilee, because I've got like a 47-year cycle. So if you go back to January 1933, there was a low there in the Dow Gold ratio, just below 2. Let's say it was 1.88. That was 1933. And then there was another low in the Dow Gold ratio in January of 1980. So that was 47 years. So what I've told you in the past is that I expect some kind of reset or the Dow Gold ratio to reach some really important levels by January 2027. And what's it got to do with the 49, 50 years? Well, the thing is, the real low in the Dow in the early 30s was not in 1933, it was in 32. And also the high in the 10-year yield, treasury yield, which is a debt. It's a debt on the public, right? Government debt is a burden on the public. Slaves have debt, right? Well, the high yield was in 1981. And that means the price dropped massively, so the debt was written off. So if you take 32 plus 49, you get 1981. That's the 49 year, let's say, Jubilee. And then if you add 49 to 1981, you get 2030, which is, of course, very close to 2032. If you add 50 years to 1932, you get 1982 and then 2032. And I've gone back as well. So if you subtract 50 years from 1932, you get 1832. There was a panic actually in 1880. You get 1882, yeah. 1932 minus 50. There was a panic in Paris, in the Paris Bourse. It did have an impact internationally, as it says here. Let's see, panic of international context. While primarily a French crisis, it contributed to a broader, milder global economic slowdown known as the Depression of 1882-85. So there you go. And then if you go back another 50 years from 1882, you get 1832. That's when the war between Andrew Jackson and the Second Bank of the United States started. Of course, you had the crash, the panic of 1837, but it started around there, 1832. And if you go back 50 years from 1832, you get around 1781, 1782. And what happened in 1781? Well, the continental dollar basically collapsed, became worthless. There's a saying, of course, not worth a continental. Its nickname was shin plaster. What it's telling me is that, the debts are going to be forgiven. And how is that going to work out? Well, it has all to do with gold, because the higher gold goes, the less valuable the debt becomes. And that's why I think we are for some very interesting times. The Dow Gold ratio is like a symptom of that. And that's why I think we're going back to at least 1-to-1. As you can see from this chart of the Dow Gold ratio that I've got, it is getting lower and lower. It was down around 2 in 1933, down around 1 in 1980. So it could go to 0.5-to-1. What would that mean? That would mean that you would only need half an ounce, troy ounce of gold to buy one Dow. It makes a big difference, 1-to-1 or 0.5-to-1. And so I think it's going to be a turbulent, chaotic time, not just financially, monetarily, and economically, but also socially. And I think by 2032, everything will be reset. And having gold will free you, in my opinion. And it will free the country in general, the United States. It will also free the West, because our debts are going to become kind of worthless. So the other thing that I see the central banks doing is that they're going to try to keep debt levels elevated, and they're going to do that by yield curve control. It's like they're going to try to fight this Jubilee, but ultimately gold will make sure that they're not successful, because gold will devalue the value of the debt. So yes, you might see the long-term yields capped below 5%, but it's just an illusion. They'll become worthless. Yes, in terms of real money, i.e. gold and silver. What kind of levels am I looking at for gold in terms of this 1-to-1 versus the Dow? Well, it's difficult to say. You know, it could be anywhere, I would say, between 25,000 and 50,000. Who knows? It depends on what the central bankers try to do. But one thing's for sure, our national debts in the West are going to be wiped out in terms of value, right? And then we'll be ready to go on another credit cycle from 2032 onwards. So that's how I see it. And that's why I think it's really important to keep a hold of your physical gold and silver. Of course, sometimes people might need to liquidate it for emergency. I'm not saying you have to hold on to it and suffer, of course, but I think it will go a long way to helping you and your family go through this Jubilee era, and you'll come out of it, I think in very good shape. But of course, this is not like a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not like being greedy. It's about value, I think, and you need to keep things in perspective. You need to not change the way you live. You need to be productive, live within your means. Yes, be a upstanding individual, I guess, in terms of relative to other people. Yeah, because you can't think of this as, I'm going to get rich quick, you know. And greed is always bad, but I think it will be rewarding, though. It's 7:36 a.m. London time. What's happened overnight in the markets? Well, gold got up to 51.77. That was the high. It's come off a bit now. We're at 51.30. It's still up $25. Silver got up to 87.88. So it's still very choppy because we're now back down to 85.30. Of course, this week will be really important to see what happens vis-a-vis the COMEX registered inventory, and how many, how many millions of ounces are going to stand for delivery from the 27th, right? And of course, this is all very short term. In the longer term, as I said, I think is the place to be. You just need to think of it in terms of 3 to 5 years. I think we're very close to some kind of big event, as I said, some Jubilee. And I think this time around, though, gold will come back into the system. It went out of the system. It wasn't in this. Well, it went out of the system domestically in the early 30s. It stayed in the system internationally, and by 1980, it was out of the system completely, and we had a bear market for 20 years. But I think the powers that be are going to realize that it's got to be back in the system. So that's why I think when we get to like a 1-to-1 Dow gold ratio, or wherever it will be, it will stay up there. It's not like, because gold is going to become a part of the system. And we're seeing that already. central banks around the world are de-dollarizing. De-dollarizing means just de-treasurization because treasuries are not backed by anything. They're fiat. And so are all other government bonds. So, yeah, that's how I see things. How about the stock markets? How are they doing? Well, the Dow's down about 220 points at 49,400. So, yeah, we're comfortably below 10 to 1 in the Dow Gold ratio. I think it's going to be a very fast collapse. And I say fast because, you know, we topped in 1999, the Dow Gold ratio. We bottomed in 2011. Then they kicked the can down the road, and we had this correction since 2011 in the Dow Gold ratio. And now it's catching up because, yeah, you can try to manipulate things and kick the can, but eventually you won't be able to do it. And that's how it's translated. It's translated in a much faster move. Yeah, the S&P is down 37 at 68.73. It was down as much as 60 points earlier. And the NASDAQ 100 future, that's down 160. I guess that's all in the back of this new tariff of 15% global tariff, uniform for all countries. There is some act of Congress, I don't know exactly what year it's from, I think 1974, that allows the president to put this tariff on, but it's only for 15 months. So that's the only difference between his previous tariffs, which were part of deals. So anyway, with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.